Hey guys, Luke here, and for today's video we're going to be talking about the Sydney Roosters. Now, they bowed out in straight sets in the 2020 NRL Final Series, and there's been a lot of talk over whether the Roosters dynasty is over. Now, they're going for the three-peat. They got back-to-back last year. They're going for the three-peat, and let's say they had a pretty good effort at it. They put a pretty good dent into it, and honestly, I think they kind of just ran out of troops in the end. I feel like when you win a premiership, you have to get a lot of luck with it. There needs to be a lot of skill, and everything needs to fall into place. And by that, I mean you need to have all your best players on deck, and the Roosters definitely didn't have that. And when I say definitely, I mainly mean in the hooker position and the lock position, in terms of Victor Radley and Jake Friend was out for big parts of the season. Even Sam Verrills was out, and then obviously Victor Radley can also fill in at hooker too. So they kind of really did struggle with their spine this year, I think. Luke Keary at times was very, very good, but he's another one who struggles with injuries. Boyd Cordner's another one. So look, I think there is a chance of this being the end of the Roosters, but I think for the most part, I think the Roosters will be okay next year. Look, are they going to win a premiership? Who knows? But I think they'll be in and amongst it. Look, there's not really any big names I can think of, apart from Orbison, who they're not going to have next year. And even so, as much as I like Mitchell Orbison, he's not really like a superstar player. He's a good fill-in player, and has been a great player for them over the years, especially, like I said, filling in positions such as centre. And just whenever he was needed, he could fill in a position and he could do a great job. But yeah, mostly in that centre position if players got injured, especially when you've got guys like Josh Morris on your side and Brett Morris, and guys who are susceptible to an injury. Let's be honest, Morris boy's getting quite old. A guy like Orbison is quite valuable, he's quite versatile. Even then, he can jump in at the hook position. Like I said, it's a position that they've been getting a lot of injuries in as of late. But just in terms of next year, I think they should be okay. Sonny Bill won't be there, Orbison won't be there. Everyone else will be there though. Joey Manu will be another year older, another year better. Same with Tedesco. My only sort of question mark is just the halves pairing. I don't know if Kyle Flanagan's the answer. I feel like it's too early to run him off. But just in terms of them going from Cronk to him, it's so much pressure on him, and there's definitely a lot of pressure by the media, a lot of pressure by the fans for him to come in and just be exactly like Cronk, and that's not what he is. And I honestly think Luke Keary could have done a little bit more. I think he did. He had a great season, and don't get me wrong, he didn't play bad by any means, but just in terms of helping out Flanagan, probably could have helped him a bit more. But, I mean, that's just going to happen when your hooker's gone throughout the whole season as well. I mean, even Tedesco, they're resting him. I just don't know whether the Roosters ever really got into fifth gear. And that was something that sort of happened last year. I don't think they won the minor premiership. We were kind of just waiting for them to explode in the finals, and this year just didn't happen. They definitely tried hard. They got very close to beating Penrith. They got very close to beating the Raiders as well. So it's not like they got absolutely destroyed in both games. It was super close. But they were just that little bit off, and that's all they needed for the other teams. And I feel like that's all it's going to take in the next coming years as well. And also the Roosters, like I said in my previous video, they just don't have that invincibility anymore. They don't have that sort of aura about them that teams sort of play them and go, oh shit. Like, that's where I think the Raiders had the big up, because they played them in the grand final. They nearly got them in the grand final, and probably in their head, whether you agree with it or not, in their head they're probably like, we got screwed in the grand final, rather than they were beat. They're probably like, we got a bad call against us, and that's the only reason we lost. So for them, they're probably very confident going into the game, and I feel like a lot of teams would be way more confident playing the Roosters next year. They just, like I said, just that little bit of invincibility is gone, and I think that's what you need. I feel like that's what the Penrith team has got at the moment. Teams are kind of versing them, and I feel like Storm kind of got it to a degree, and they've had it for a long time. You play them and you go, oh shit, like we're playing the Panthers. We've got to be on. We've definitely got to play a 10 out of 10 game. And sometimes teams get up for it, and other times teams will crumble under the pressure. And I feel like a lot of the time teams go into the game and are beaten already. And that's what was happening with the Roosters, I think. Teams were just waiting to get beat by them. Whereas I'm not sure that's going to be the case. But I will say, I feel like the Roosters season really died off once Victor Radley went down. I mean, when they won their first premiership, of their back-to-back, the first one, I know Radley was only a bit of like a bench player, but he was very effective, and like I said, he could come on, he could play a little bit of hooker, but he's so much more now. He's so dynamic. He literally fits like that perfect lock sort of forward role in the modern game, especially with all the fast restarts and all that sort of stuff. So I think Victor Radley was a big loss. Then you add in your Verrills and your Jake Friends, and in particular Jake Friend, I think he's a big leader for them. He went down, and even Cordner was in and out of the side with injuries. Lots of talks about his concussions and that sort of stuff. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of disruptions, but a lot of disruptions that you kind of just went, well, Roosters, we get through it. It's typical Roosters, they'll get through it, and they just didn't this year. There probably were the same sort of stuff last year and the year before as well, but they just had such a gun side that you just expected them to do it. And quite frankly, I feel like if this Penrith side had been playing last year as well, they probably would have beat the Roosters then. I think the level of football has gone up once again. And yeah, I think the sides this year are better than the sides in there last year. And yeah, I think the Roosters, they're definitely not in trouble, but they need to sort out their halves pairing. I don't know if Kyle Flanagan's it, but you got Lachlan Lamb. I think they've got some chap named Sam Walker coming through. And knowing the Roosters, they could probably just go and buy someone as well. This is the Roosters we're talking about. But yeah, Kyle Flanagan, I wouldn't give up on him just yet. I mean, even like I think I said in a couple of videos ago that, you know, Nathan Cleary didn't exactly set the world on fire. I mean, he was solid, and you know, he earned a New South Wales jersey. But there was a lot of talk about Nathan Cleary being super overrated going into this year, and I think I was one of them who was sort of saying, nah, Cleary, he's okay, but he's not hyped. He's not what he's hyped up to be. And this year he's really turned it around. Well, he's just progressed, is what we're talking about. I think everyone kind of knew he had the potential to do it, and that's the same with Kyle Flanagan. Kyle Flanagan can definitely do it. It's just whether the Roosters are willing to be patient with him. It's up to them. I don't really know what sort of route they're going to go. I've seen a lot of talk about whether they're going to axe him or they're going to get rid of someone else. I don't know. The Roosters don't really hang around with players and let them develop. We saw Jackson Hastings and a few of those guys. As soon as they sort of showed within half a season they weren't really going to be a superstar in the next year, that they got cast to the side. They brought in bloody Cooper Cronk and Luke Keary, and the rest is history. But yeah, Luke Keary, he's definitely the best 5'8" for me in the NRL. I'd love to see him move to halfback. I know there's not a huge difference in the NRL these days between halfback and 5'8", but I'd definitely love to see him chuck the 7 on, and maybe even let, I don't know, more of a running 5'8" come in and he can sort of steer them around. I think he's definitely more than capable. We've seen him do it before. We've seen him do it this season, in fact. I mean, he was mostly, I think, playing sort of halfback. He just has the number 6 on. He's definitely the controlling half, I would say. But yeah, for Kyle Flanagan, I feel like the worst thing for him is that his goal kicking has been on. At least if his goal kicking was like spot on, you could kind of justify having him in the side, at least for goal kicking and maybe just general in-game kicking. But maybe if he can work on that, he can kind of snag himself a guaranteed spot. But yeah, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we find Flanagan being moved on to another team. Maybe not in the off-season, but pretty soon. It's just a matter of who they end up going with at halfback or 5'8", depending on where Keary ends up playing. And look, and even in terms of their dynasty, a lot of their players are also getting a little bit older. I was talking about some of the others getting better with age and sort of moving into their peak, like your Flanagans and that sort of stuff, your Verrills and all those sort of guys, and Radley. But also they have guys like Warrior-Hargreaves who, I don't know, I honestly don't think Warrior-Hargreaves has been that good for a little while, and especially with all the rule changes, I don't know if he suits the modern game, and he's starting to get older, he's starting to slow down a little bit. And even the Morris boys, look, they're just an injury away. You've got a lot of guys like Keary, like Cordner, maybe a couple of concussions away from being done. You really don't know what's going to happen with this Roosters. I can see them either... it's one of those ones, I can see them coming out and winning a premiership next year, and I can also see them missing the 8. Like, just... Actually, maybe not that far. Maybe not missing the 8, but, you know what I mean? Having like a bit of a fall. Leave in the comment section, guys, what do you think the Roosters are going to do next year? Do you think they're going to have a fall? Are they going to stay the same? Are they going to win a premiership? Who knows? But definitely give me your comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. My thoughts are that I think they'll probably be a top 4 team next year, pushing for a premiership. Maybe the year after they might drop off a little bit, but I think next year the Morris boys will still be there, and they'll still have the general core of that side. And then maybe the year after, when the Morris boys retire, and then they have some sort of weaknesses in the outside backs, considering one of them each plays on either side. So then you've got some spots. But I mean, the Roosters, they tend to just throw in some youngster, and he ends up killing it. He's probably some prodigy that they've signed from Warriors or someone when they were younger, like Tuivasa-Sheck and your Denny Tupous and that sort of stuff. They were stuck around reserve grade. Maybe that Ikavalu, maybe he'll progress. Who knows? But yeah, that's what I'm going to end the video, guys. My social media is on the screen right now. Go ahead and give me a follow on that. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Usually I do that in the complete opposite order, but let's just go with it. So like and subscribe. It's important that you subscribe and turn on the notification bell as well. Lets you know exactly what it kind of implies. The notification lets you know when I upload. So definitely go ahead and do that. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos on the channel. We're going to be doing previews for week 3 of the finals, doing each individual game. So stay tuned for that. But that's where this video is going to end, and that's where I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.